November is Black Catholic History Month, and we honor the men and women from Africa who have pioneered the Catholic faith. While CFN and Monsignor Jim attended the USCCB Fall General Assembly, he had the opportunity to speak with author Michael Heinlein to discuss his book, Black Catholics on the Road to Sainthood.
I'm joined by Michael Heinlein, who's the author of Black Catholics on the Road to Sainthood and the editor of Simply Catholic. Thanks for being with us. Glad you're here.
It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So tell us about this book. I scanned through this, and I also know there's a Holy Six that you have. It's a great kind of study of what's happening in the life of the church right now, particularly with these wonderful people. How did this come about?
Well, in the summer of racial reckoning, as we might call it in 2020, like all Catholics, I hope, I was thinking, what can I do? What can I do to contribute to the healing that we need? And so I was always drawn to these figures, and I was inspired, I guess, in prayer to do something about bringing their stories all together in one place, and hopefully getting Catholics across racial boundaries to get to know these figures, to see them as the greatest among us, to see them as people we should not only pray to but emulate, and hopefully we can bring racial healing through that as well. So this is the first book that brings all 6 stories of these 6 Black Catholics who are on the road to sainthood together in one place. And I hope to help people know about them, help people be inspired by them, help people pray to them, help their causes advance so that we can see them beatified and canonized.
I love the idea too. It kind of reminded me of heroes, because these are like 6 heroes whose lives we want to emulate, whose stories are inspiring. I mean, I think that's such an important thing, right?
Yes, absolutely. And among the 6 we have 4 women and 2 men. One is a priest. There are many lay people who we can identify with in the pews very easily. They all have stories of suffering, but it's what did they do with their suffering? They allowed their suffering to transform them and allow that suffering to be transformed in their heart, in really the heart of Christ, and be shared as love.
Tell us their names too. Let us know who they are.
Sure. Venerable Pierre Toussaint, who's close to home for you in New York.
In the basement of our cathedral.
That's right. Father Augustus Tolton, who was the first identifiably African-American priest from the United States. And then we have from Baltimore here, Mother Mary Lang, and we have Mother Henriette DeLille from New Orleans, Julia Greeley from Denver, and Thea Bowman from Mississippi.
And Thea Bowman is well remembered, also even our own diocese too. We have a choir named after her as well.
Yeah, she's the most contemporary of the 6 too.
Yeah, I would think too, yeah. So I mean, there had to be kind of an inspirational kind of endeavor for you too, and you also got some writing from some other people along the way in the midst of telling the story. Each biography is accompanied by reflection.
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about those, because those are contemporary folks who did that too, right?
Yeah, sure. I wanted this book to be an exercise in Catholicity, and so I wanted there to be racial diversity among the contributors. I myself obviously am Caucasian, but I wanted there to be Black Catholics who gave their voices to how these people inspired them to live their faith, but also not just them, right? That these are people for all of us.
Right.
And we're also very fortunate to have a foreword written by Archbishop Jose Gomez from Los Angeles, and outgoing president now of the U.S. Bishops' Conference.
So that's great, and that kind of urges people on as well. And then in partnership with LA Catholics, you're leading an online study of the holy men and women in your book. So talk about this online study, because I think that's something that's terrific too.
Yes, they wanted to celebrate Black Catholic History Month, which is observed each November for about the last 30 years or so, and to focus their faithful on these 6 figures so that we can understand what the Black Catholic experience is and how we can learn from them and how we can be inspired by them. And so twice a week they're featuring various figures from our book, and it's a great privilege to be able to share their stories in such a great big archdiocese as Los Angeles.
I also love the fact that you also affirm the fact that Black Catholics are part of the Catholic Church. And that's something that's really important to see. I live in a very culturally diverse parish, and there are different groups, but there is a certain unity in the midst of that, but also acknowledging the different races and cultures that we have. We have a very strong group of Black Catholics, Hispanic Catholics, Haitian Catholics. It's like the best of the church in a way.
Absolutely. The cultural diversity in our church is a gift from God.
Yeah.
And so we need to recognize that. And not only that, but we need to celebrate it. And that's what I hope this book can do, is to help people see that the Black Catholic tradition makes the best of us, just like these Holy 6.
I also thought when I was looking through this book too, there's a certain curriculum here that could be very helpful on a college or maybe even a high school level for young people to get a sense of these heroes, and particularly heroes who are Black Catholics, huh?
Yeah, I would hope so. I hope that these individuals can, be incorporated into curriculum so that we can not only have the exposure to these figures, but so that we can kind of break apart what was the cultural situation of their lives. What did they really have to endure? We can gloss over that very easily, can't we?
Yeah.
And not have a real appreciation for the historical, social, ecclesial circumstances in which they found themselves. And as I mentioned, it often resulted in suffering for them. And how did they deal with that? How did they process that suffering and allow it not to destroy them, but to make them holy?
Yeah. And Michael, you're an example too of someone who's taken the gifts that they've been given by God and have kind of sent them forward to help heal a people and to help heal and bring a world and help heal the church in a way that we can, grow together in unity with one another. I mean, that's kind of part of the vocation, I guess, you're feeling in doing this kind of work?
Absolutely. I think we're all called to build up the body of Christ as best we can by being baptized. And if we're not doing that, we're not living our vocation, are we? So I hope that a book like this can be a possibility of building up the body of Christ and helping us all to enter into our call to be saints a little more fully.
Yeah, I love that. Would you have more writing in your mind, something else you're going to write later on? Are you thinking about that?
Yes. Well, I have a book on the late Cardinal Francis George from Chicago.
Yeah, I remember.
Who will be remembered for a long time, I hope, but my book will chronicle his life, which is also a life of suffering in many ways, but a life of holiness and brilliance, and that should be out in the spring.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And he was like right here on this set with us
a
number of times.
Yeah, a number of times.
Yeah, it really does. He was such a beautiful and wonderful man and such a great example to us.
Yes, he was.
Wow,
man we need now, still, just as much as when we had him.
More than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a great gift that is. That's terrific. And I guess part of what your own call is this sort of biography of faith, in a sense. Huh? Is that something that you feel called to, that particular part of writing?
I'm particularly drawn to letting Christ shine through others. I want to tell the story of how Christ is shining, because that's what we're all supposed to do. We're all supposed to reflect the light of Christ.
Yeah.
Or else what are we doing here, right?
Exactly.
And so I think that I'm particularly drawn, I guess, in finding that holy narrative in lives that can help us do the same in our own.
Yeah. And that's the story, isn't it? It's the holy narrative. And that's how we're called to live our lives, in a sense. And it's not about you, it's about us, and it's about the others who have become those heroes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
and
great.
It's about Christ in them, the hope of glory.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being with us. We're so glad you were here.
Thank you.
Keep in touch with us. So let us know how we can further help get your word out. I know Bishop Barris is very interested in speaking to you, so I have a feeling you'll be back again as a guest soon.
Thank you so much. Anytime.
And your book's available pretty much everywhere? Or?
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it from osvcatholicbookstore.com or wherever books are sold.
Terrific. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
We'll keep you in our prayers, too.
I appreciate that.
God bless.